Hello everyone and welcome back. In last stream, we learned about signals. We also saw component store. We saw select signal API, which is really amazing. I love that API. And we also saw the comparison, right? How you can actually achieve the same thing, which we did using component store previously to achieve component change detection strategy on push. And we can do the same stuff with signal without like not writing much code. So today, one thing which I have done is I have committed that code into another branch. So in case you are following the videos, you will be able to see signals. Okay, I have actually made a mistake, typing mistake, but it's called signals component store. So you will be able to see the code which we did in our last stream here. And okay, I have a message. Hey Parth, thanks again for your kind words, and thank you for joining. So today what we'll do is we'll add the Auth0 login. If you remember right now, we have just um, a fake API, right? So we have been calling that fake API, and then we have implemented the login. Let's use Auth0, a real-time API. The reason is I want to try the different third-party APIs, and probably in future we can also do some real backend, right? And that's why I like wanted to integrate Auth0. This is Auth0 is also free up to some users. I'm not sure how many users that are those are actually, but few years ago it used to be 50,000 users, so it's like a very big number. So let's see the documentation. So actually, I was looking. I'm going to use Angular's SDK, and there is also already a quick start, so you can see. How we can do it. So this uses Auth0 Angular, which is Auth0 Angular SDK, and there are some steps given, and we'll try to use the same. It uses for root pattern. I'm not sure how it is going to play nicely with the latest singleton standalone APIs, but let's see. Okay, I wanted to see the SDK application settings. Okay, but Auth0. Let's see if the SDK is updated to support the standalone APIs. Right? So here, and it has 39,000 downloads, updated, published 12 hours ago. So I'm sure there should be a way for standalone APIs. So we have this starting dynamic configuration. Okay, app initializer, that's okay, but add login to your application, API references. Looks like they don't have the standalone support yet, or maybe I'm wrong. I'm just looking at the doc, which might not be updated. So Frederick is actually managing this API or the library. So ng-add, we cannot do ng-add because, of course, we are in Linux application, right? So we won't be able to do it, but we can install and update it manually, right? That's what we will do. And no, so it only has for root, and this is another way, like the app initializer way. I'll tell you the difference, why which we should prefer. I would suggest to use app initializer in real-time application because doing this one, the for root, you see you are actually supposed to expose your domain and client ID here, which is not safe. But I'll not commit the changes, and probably I'll just use the dummy, not the dummy, but yeah, of course, I need to provide the real-time APIs. I'll try to hide it. Let's see how we can do that. But if in just in case if I expose, I'll just try to delete those API keys after this string. Like so, you can actually create your own and then use it. So, okay, it doesn't look like they have support for standalone. And the last commit is 12 hours ago, which is 2.2.1, and what it is. So let's see the change log. So support organization name, return JS talk. ensure auth config service is exported, remove polyfills, remove this, but I don't see anything related to stand. Add API for standalone and functional approaches. Okay, so it's available in 2.1.0. And let's see. So probably what we are missing is probably the documentation. So this is auth card and hmm, add API for standalone. So what is this? Provide. Hmm. So we have auth guard function. We have auth HTTP interceptor. So we can have this check provide auth0. So okay, so there is a new API called provide auth0, and this is something which we can use. And then this is where we can pass the configuration. Yep. So we do have the API for standalone. The only difference is the documentation is missing. So let's see. Request. There is no pull request, but I mean, in case someone wants to contribute, just go to the documentation and you can actually raise a PR to add this API. But we'll try this out. Let's see. And I'm not sure is this going to work, but this is provide auth0. Yeah. So let's start from the step one. And the first step is actually to configure the application. So if you see, it says, okay, these are the different steps which you have to follow. And I already have an account on Auth0. So I went to the application, I'll create one new application and I'll say, hey, this is a single page application and I'll say this is e-commerce. Right, so this is my application name. Let's create. Looks like I made a spelling mistake. Can I rename it? I don't think so. Let's create another one. Let's say this is commerce and I'll be really careful right now. Okay, single page application. But I had a question. If you have time, can you answer? Any ideas for adding global data store for Angular without adding NGRX? I want it in existing project, but I don't want to refactor the whole project. Yeah. So, but I would suggest have a look at uh, component store. So component store allows you to go from bottom to up, and that's how you can actually achieve the global store for your application. You can look at the last stream which I did, and I spoke about component store. The other alternative you have is RX Angular. So choose any one of them. If you are on Angular 16, I think the signals going with signals will be another approach, right? So you can actually use signals as a store. There is a I mean, there is a support. There will be support for and signal store inside NGRX in future, but not right now. It's under what you can say. It's under discussion, and they will implement it in future. But yeah, currently, I mean, I can understand NGRX has pinpoint that store and effect, right? So in case you want to implement, you have to go all in, right? You have to implement at from top to bottom, which is of course not possible most of the time, right? So in case you have an existing application, so look at component store. It should solve your issue. So I'll choose Angular. Yeah. So just to show you what the question Parth had, so you can also see it. And probably you may also have the same issue in your application. Great. So we have login. What is that? So I want to add this one. Something happened. Okay. Back to application. E-commerce. So I got lost somewhere. Yep. Okay. So we have the settings here. So if you see to in documentation, the next step which is you have to do is you have to actually take client ID and client secret, and we also need uh, domain and client ID. So these are two things which we need. So I think client ID, client secret. Why I am domain is different? Why domain is different? So this is select Angular, configure your auth keys. Okay, so I can go to settings and here where I can update. Hmm. So application settings. This looks like my default app. I remember doing this like 5 years ago, and that might be an issue right now. But let's see. So it's settings, domain. Okay, why I'm not able to change it? Organization, e-commerce. Interesting. Individuals. Okay, connections. I don't want this domain. I want to use actually localhost 42000, but domain. Where to update the domain? Hmm. Let's see, change domain. There is nothing here. Okay, let's see. So you need the following information: domain and client ID, configure callback URLs, configure callbacks URLs. So you callback URL for your app, you must add, okay, okay, let's use localhost 42000. Let's not care about domain as of now. So we have to go to application settings and add allowed callback URLs. So it should be here. Application URLs, allowed callback URLs. So I have to say, okay, this is HTTP 000. Then configure logout URLs if you're allowed. Okay, so I'll just say configure logout URLs, which is 400. Configure allowed web origins, and you should set the allowed web origins to 400. So allowed web origins, I'll say, okay, this is 400. Allow cross origin authentication. I think that's needed. And then save this and install SDK. Okay, so far so good. Application login URI. Do I need to set this as well? Callback URL, logout URL, and I don't think so. So token and when using default app with native single page application, this native you have to download. Okay, cool. I mean, this looks okay. So let's save this information and save changes. Okay, what is next step? So we have to install the Angular SDK. And let's do that. So I'm using npm here. Okay, installed. So the API is installed, and next step which we have to do is we have to use the API. So let's try to see if we can use the standalone one, and we can go to app component, app config, and this is where we can provide the list of APIs which we want to use. So I'll just try to use that here. Provide auth0. And then we have to pass the configuration. Let's see. So we have domain. I am not getting new license here. Auth config. So let's see what is the auth config, what it contains. So we have HTTP interceptor, error path, skip redirection. It extends the client option, which is domain, and client ID. So if you see, these are actually two properties which we need, which is like required. So for Auth0 example, when using custom domains, sorry, just a second. Okay. So we need domain. Mm, let's pass. Okay. And client ID. So we need these two. And I think client ID was visible. I'll just delete this app after the stream. So don't worry about it in case you even saw the client ID, that's okay. So we need client ID. This is the client ID. We'll say this and domain. I'm not sure from where I got this. Yeah. Okay. So I remember now. So I was doing an open source project like 5 years ago, and it was an Python app, and I was trying to integrate Auth0 there. That's where actually I got this domain from. So it's okay. I mean, so this is the first step. We provided the Auth0. Void Auth0 is the first step. And then what we have to do is, let's see. So this app, of course, this document needs to be updated. You can actually, anyone who is online and wants to contribute, let's click on this link. And this is where the sample is. You can go there, update the sample. It is not updated like from some time. So if you go to SRC app and app module, probably this will just have the old API. Yeah. So as I thought, so this has like the old API and doesn't work. I mean, it doesn't work with sync. I mean, it's not like it will not work. We can make it work with this standalone app as well, but why to, right? So far, what we have done is we have just followed the standalone way of writing our application. So let's not change it. And we use for root. Okay, that's fine. And then we need auth service. Let's see what is done with auth service now. Auth service is still there. We I don't think so. There is any replacement. Yeah. So auth service, provide Auth0 client service and auth client config dependency is fine. We have auth client, auth service functional. I mean, what is this functional? Provide.ts and this is functional. Okay. So what it does, functional auth guard. Okay. And so they have created an auth guard function which we can use if you want to. That's cool. And we also have an interceptor. So include access token in matching request. This is also cool. I mean, if I have, if I can just directly use the HTTP interceptor from here, that's a pretty good idea. But let's follow the step. I mean, we will do that later. We do need the auth guard, but right now we need this. So let's log into your application. So Auth0 Angular SDK gives you tools to quickly implement your user authentication, such as creating a login button, using login with redirect method from auth service, executing login with redirect, redirects to the user. Okay, Auth0 will, so where Auth0 can authenticate them upon a successful authentication, Auth0 will redirect your users back to your application. Okay, so we have this add auth button component. I think it can be anything if I'm not wrong. We just need to make sure that we call this API. So let's go ahead and do this. So I'll go back and on my, where should I do it? So let's do it on app component.ps. We have this constructor here. Okay. So service, and then we need sub service to be include it here, but we should do it on login. I mean, it makes sense to do it on login. So I'll just go to apps, user, lib, login, and login component.ts. So anyways, we are actually redirecting our users to login. And here I will say, okay, this is the constructor. Let's add it here. And then we need to have a button. So here I will just put the button which is shown to us. It says you have to put a button with login. And this is a component. Okay. So I'll put this button here and let's call it as matrix button. And I'll say login with Auth0. Just move my mic. I hope you can still hear me. I mean, format document, and we have this login with Auth0. Then what's next? So you have to enter email address, continue, add logout to your application. So we don't want to use logout as of now. Let's try with login first. Like if it works or it does not. So I'll serve my application. So I'll say no, we are not using plan. So I'll just do it from NX console. I'll go to NX console and say serve, and that's it. So hope, I mean, after this configuration, at least we should be able to log in and then we get redirected to our application back. And there won't be any stream from tomorrow. So I'm going to Berlin to attend VR Developers Conference and then have vacation as well, meet some friends, and then we'll be back on next Monday. So Monday onwards, probably let's see. I'll think about the topics which we can do. Mm. So 000 and login with Auth0 and yay! So we are redirected to the Auth0 login page. I'll say sign with Google, or do we want to sign up? Let's log in, sign in with Google. I'll just use my username, password. I mean, uh, yes, give it. Oops, something went wrong. Okay, so this could be misconfiguring our system. We track those errors automatically. Feel free to contact us. So the URL redirection got failed, right? So we created our user account and we can actually verify it by going into our application, e-commerce. We have our, what is the logout URL, allowed origins. Okay, allowed callback URLs, but we missed where to redirect, right? So we don't have actually that configured. And this is our expiration, absolute expiration, like for token. Okay, interesting. Refresh token rotation. So it will refresh the token after this many seconds. I think, yeah. So what we are missing is where to redirect. So once we log in, it has to be redirected to somewhere. And that can be done by using the last parameter which we had. And let's do that. So there is one more parameter in case we configure the Auth0. Let's go back and redirect URL. So Auth0 redirection. Interesting. Auth0 client. It's a change. Redirect URL. Let's see what's the parameter now. Auth0 config. Sorry, Auth0 for root, skip redirect callback in the other call with existing route. Angular specific state if we stored before redirect. Target. Interesting. Because as per documentation, we can actually see it here, login with redirect, and then specify the return to option when calling logout. Okay, that's fine. I don't want to, but login. Here it is. Uh, by default, and however, this developer keys limitation may cause behave differently. Mm, okay, it is not redirecting me to my page. Yeah, okay. So this is redirect URL. Let's see. So we have, yeah, authorized, authorized patterns, and choose redirect URL. So it should redirect back to our application. And let's go back. Let's close this. Close. That's the only thing we are missing. Login, login with sign with Google, and yes. So that's it. So we got redirect to our application, and we can verify if this user information exists in our uh, here, right? So if we go to application, and I think we should be able to see the users as well. Authentication, database, username, password authentication, social. So I'm using Google Auth0, Google and Auth2, 4 applications enabled, and one of them is e-commerce. So user management, users. Let's see if we got one. Okay, so you can see there are 5 users. I mean, I was probably trying this like a few years ago with the application which I mentioned. So this is the newest login we have, Google Auth2, number of logins 24, and last login was few seconds ago. So we got like our login, we got Auth0 working with our application. We can do more stuff like with Auth0. Of course, once you are logged in, you should be able to verify, like you should be able to get the user profile, you should be able to log out and implement all those functionality. So for logout, you have, of course, again, auth service, and then you can say auth here dot logout, and then you can pass logout parameters, and it will just work. You can show user profile information, and let's try to do this right now. So once the users are logged in, it maintains the state. So you don't have to do anything else. And we can actually verify using service. So let's go back um, to one thing. I'll just remove. Hmm. I'll go to profile and let's implement this. So we already have user, profile, component, and if you remember earlier, we are using store, NGRX store, to retrieve all this information. We can still go ahead and use store if you want to, but currently we just want to verify if things work, and we can just say, okay, give me this auth service from sorry, auth from auth service. We have to add import. Yep, it is added, and then we can show the user information. Let's see, and profile. I'll just say here, this is document, and let's save this TypeScript file as well, so we know. Okay, so everything is compiled. Let's go and verify our application. So log in with Auth0 because we have to make sure, of course, if user is logged in, yeah, last time you logged in with this. Let's continue with the same. And let's go to profile. And you can see this actually information is received from Auth0. So it's not something which I got from here. You The token refresh token will be, I think, handled automatically. You don't have to do anything, but we can actually add more information related to user, right? So right now we just have the username and password, but we can create, we can do more. We can actually add like all the information which we need for a user, right? We can have like sorry yeah. So we can have a profile page where we can like take all the inputs and we can save it somewhere. So uh, here, e-commerce, I think we can have a database, dedicated database connections. So you can see username and password authentication, and then connections are sources of users. They are categorized into databases. And let's see what is the add-ons. SAML Web 2. If this is SAML is for enterprises, if you need. What else we have? Okay, this is okay. Yeah, but now we are logged in, and now we can do whatever we want to do. I mean, if you want to give like sso based, like not sso based, but yeah, if you want to give a Google login, a Facebook login, you can add all of them. I don't have Facebook account, so I cannot show you that. But if you want to try it on your own application, you can add many types of authentication. So here, if I'm not wrong, in authentication I have enabled the Google one. So you can create a connection, and you can choose what kind of login you want to allow. For example, I have a LinkedIn account. I can, of course, allow LinkedIn. I can allow Microsoft. I can allow GitHub. Let's see how to do this. So I'll say continue. Client secret, client ID, leave it blank, leave it blank. And what I need is what profile, sorry, what fields I want to read. Okay, so repo deployment, delete. I don't want to actually. Let's create one and see if we can use it. Application using this connection, e-commerce is one of them. And let's go back and refresh our page to see if we have but we have actually this working now. So let's go back, and you can see here, right? So one more thing which you have to remember is, even though you refresh your page, your state is not gone, right? It's not logged out until unless you say you go ahead and call the logout function, or there is some timeout which you set and say, okay, after this time, just go ahead and refresh or kick the user out, right? So you can do that. Go to 00, log in with Auth0, and see if we can not your account. And okay, there is no GitHub here for some reason. So let's see. Okay, we have to allow it. So e-commerce and try connection. Authorize. I am login. Of course, I trust Auth0, so I have allowed it. Take me to the dashboard, and let's close this and go back to localhost 4200. Login with Auth0, and hope we get. Okay, still not. Don't remember. Interesting. Do something else after this, or it should be enabled after some time. So setup guide. So we have enabled it for e-commerce, and this is the one. Allows user to log in. By default, Auth0 automatically syncs user profile data with each user login, thereby ensuring the changes made uh, updated in Auth0. Optionally, you can disable user profile data synchronization. Okay, before you begin, sign up for a GitHub developer account. Okay, register the new application name, commerce, homepage, localhost 4200. I mean, I'm trying it on my local. So let's try give it which is localhost 4200. Application description is on, callback URL. Register application. Okay. Hmm. Register new app in GitHub developer settings. Auth apps. I did that. Test your connection. Now test your connection. So Auth0 dashboard, select authentication, social, and we have GitHub. After logging in, you will be prompted. Authentication and select the type of connection you want to test. So I want to test the GitHub one. Where is that on? Here. So I want to test GitHub. Locate the connection you want to test and select try connection from its more option. So here, try connection. It says GitHub. This one take me to the dashboard. If you can see this this page, it means your connection works. This is the user profile the application will receive. Okay, so we'll receive your name, nickname, updated at. So it works. I'm just wondering why we are not getting this option. Intended because there was no application created. I hope so. Let's refresh this and let's log in with 0. Yes, yes. So we got our GitHub account working as well. So I can just now log in with GitHub, and I hope it redirects. Okay, interesting. Yeah, it worked. So we have this information. Let's go back to profile, and yes, so you can see this information is different because it is now retrieved from GitHub, not from my Google account. Tech Talks with Santosh is my YouTube channel name. If you are wondering what Tech Talks with Santosh was, and then we can implement logout, and we can actually add more information to save into the Auth0 as well, or we can actually have our third-party database where we can save all this information. We can actually just say inspect and we will be able to see the API calls as well. Let's go back and say network here. I'll disable the log, sorry, disable the breakpoints, and let's go to network, remove this card. And what we want is we want to see is profile. This is our profile. If I'm not, this is the API. And this is actually called to the GitHub API. So you can see auth token post and preview. So this is the response which we have. So you can see you have access token, you have ID token, expires in this many seconds, scope and token type, as well as I think there should be more information, right? So there should be the user profile information, address, your location, authorized client. Okay, so here we have this access token, and I'm just wondering where is the API call to get this information. But it's okay. I mean, we have this information, which is more than enough. And what are the other API calls? So let's see, fetch. So this is our call. This is also our call. And this is the only Auth0 related call. Interesting. Hmm. Okay, so we implemented Google authentication, we implemented GitHub authentication, and now the thing which I need to do is I have to delete this app, and let's go ahead and let's go ahead and do that. So I'll go to applications, and e-commerce. We'll go to settings, and there is delete delete this application link here, and I'll just delete it. Yeah. And now we you won't be able to use the same API key which I have, and I can safely check in this code as well. So if you want to refer how to implement uh, or how to add the Auth0 APIs, you can just refer this code. I just did using this new standalone API. So you can see I'm using provide Auth0, which is recently released. The only thing is the documentations are not up to date, and we can do that. So you can actually go ahead and update the documentation if you want to. And I think this is enough for today. That was the agenda. I don't have anything else in my mind which I wanted to cover today. So let's wrap up the live stream today. And in case you have any questions related to Auth0 integration, feel free to reach out. I mean, I know I don't know everything, but I know the people who know everything. So I can actually connect you to the team who works on these APIs. And if you have any feedbacks, just let me know. So see you next Monday now. And meanwhile, just go ahead and try to implement your own login or authentication based on Auth0. And we may try probably a few more options, right? So AppWrite is one of the backend as service, which is very really amazing. I mean, I know some of my friends who work there. I know the CEO who is very active in the on the Twitter and LinkedIn. So I'll try with that as well, because I want to show you like how you can use different APIs, right? That's the point of having this stream. So far we have done NGRX. We saw almost most of the APIs apart from the NGRX data, which even I don't want to cover for some reason, but it's okay. Um, and then we also not saw Auth0. Probably we'll explore more APIs in future. So see ya and bye bye. And I'll commit this code into another branch. So I'll just call this. I'll create another branch feature, add Auth0 authentication. So if you want to refer this code, of course, we can just go back to this branch and see the code. So bye bye, bye everyone.